Welcome to Chanel the latest. Ukraine said on Tuesday it had shot down dozen Russian drones over the capital Kyiv, adding that there had been no casualties as a result of Moscow's latest aerial barrage. Single-use drones were key to a series of attacks that Russia launched against Ukrainian infrastructure over the winter months, disrupting heat, water, and electricity supplies to much of the population. In total, 12 enemy UAVs, unmanned aerial vehicles, of this type were detected and destroyed by air defense forces in the airspace of Kyiv, said the head of the city's military administration, Sergei Popko. There were no victims, he said. A non-residential building caught fire due to falling UAV wreckage, and the fire had been extinguished. The Ukrainian armed forces said that Russia had launched a total of 15 Iranian-made drones at the country overnight and that 14 of them had been destroyed. The threat of further missile and airstrikes remains high across Ukraine, the General Staff said. The drone came down in the town of Kireyesk, some 400 kilometers, 249 miles, from the Ukraine border, on Sunday, the Defense Ministry announced. Russian state media is reporting that at least 3 people were injured in an explosion after it was brought down. Ukraine has dismissed previous claims that it has attacked Russian civilian targets with explosive drones and has not yet commented on this incident. Moscow has deployed hundreds of drones against Ukraine. Russian law enforcement authorities say the drone, said to be a Strizh type, Tu-141, UAV packed with explosives, was brought down at 15:20 local time, 13:20 British Summer Time, causing a large crater in the heart of Kireyesk. Several apartments have reportedly been damaged in the town, which lies in the Tula region, 220 kilometers south of Moscow, but there have not been any serious injuries. In a statement on its Telegram channel, the Russian Defense Ministry accused Ukraine of attempting to carry out a strike. The grouping of Russian air defense systems deployed in the Tula region, S-300 and Pantsir S-1 anti-aircraft missile systems, as well as Pol-21 electronic warfare systems, provide reliable cover from this direction, the Defense Ministry said. In particular, the Pol-21 electronic warfare complex handled the Ukrainian strike drone, which resulted in its navigation system being disabled. In December, Moscow said 3 Russian Air Force personnel died after being wounded by falling debris from a drone that was shot down at the Engels Air Base in the south of the country. The Engels Air Base has been repeatedly used by Russia to carry out missile strikes on various targets in Ukraine since Moscow launched its full-scale invasion last February. Flushed with funding and arms supplies from the West, Ukraine also revealed the existence of dedicated suicide drone units and launching vehicles. However, reports from the ground and Russian defense bloggers on Telegram have not reported any significant shift in the battlefield scenario as Ukrainian casualties rise simultaneously. They nevertheless acknowledge well-coordinated Ukrainian drone tactics of using civilian UAVs for kamikaze and grenade-dropping roles, harrowing Russian ground troops in the Donbass. Ukraine has gained tremendous experience using various unmanned aerial systems over the last year. Meanwhile, Russia has introduced several new UAVs, including variants of the Orlan-10 reconnaissance drone, Lancet-3 loitering munition, dedicated UAVs for electronic warfare, EU, and radio jamming like the Mosquet, and new ground-based EU systems. Many Telegram groups quoted former Luhansk People's Republic, LPR, officer Lieutenant Colonel Andrei Marchoko, who claimed the AFU had increased the use of anti-personnel drones. In the zone of responsibility of the 2nd Army Corps of the Russian Defense Ministry, the enemy has increased the use of UAVs many times over. Favorable weather conditions and fresh supplies from the so-called Western partners have allowed the enemy in our sector to increase the use of UAVs of various modifications by 2 to 3 times, Marachko said. He added the AFU has been using both small drones and heavy hexacopters capable of carrying mortar ammunition adapted for dropping from UAVs. The second part of the video showed a thermal camera view from under the drone of an unguided drop bomb being released and exploding on the ground. The concluding part showed another aerial footage of the ground from a separate UAV. showing an explosion in the distance, meaning an AFU hexacopter must have dropped the bomb on a Russian target. Ukraine has prominently used civilian and leisure UAVs against Russian soldiers by retrofitting them with basic release mechanisms and dropping grenades on trenches and inside open hatches of tanks and armored vehicles. Dozens of popular videos show Russian soldiers being surprised when small bombs are modified with fins for stability and ensure they fall beside them. Some graphic recordings showed servicemen either being killed on the spot or injured severely, while others were lying maimed on the ground after collapsing and later presumably succumbing to their injuries. Russia, too, replicated the practice to a smaller degree towards the middle of last year, but not to the extent the AFU exploited commercially available drones. At one point, the AFU was also using hexacopters strapped with rocket-propelled grenade (RPG) warheads to slam them on Russian armor, as was reported by the Eurasian Times. Ukraine, meanwhile, has been preparing for a counter-offensive in several areas in April to May that would also involve the German Leopard-2 main battle tanks, according to its defense minister Alexei Reznikov. Its vice prime minister, Mikhailo Fedorov, was photographed with around 20 pickup trucks and other AFU personnel. The picture followed a quote in several Kyiv-friendly Telegram groups, saying the pickups, attack copters, and Starlinks were handed over. All drones are Ukrainian-made. Private donors purchased equipment for the attack companies of the Army of Drones. The drones will carry out reconnaissance and strike missions, Fedorov was quoted. While the photo's veracity, the accompanying information, and Fedorov's statement could not be verified, it is unlikely to be false since he has publicized Ukraine's civilian drone procurement efforts in the past. Fedorov, whose portfolio is innovation and science and technologies, tweeted a picture of nearly 100 Mavic 3T drones from Chinese drone maker DJI. 300 Mavic 3T already serves in Donbass, Zaporizhzhia, and Kherson. Birds have thermal imagers and zoom cameras to detect and destroy Russian hardware, he said. The Eurasian Times had previously reported that Russia and Ukraine were widely using the readily available Chinese drones for basic surveillance and reconnaissance tasks, particularly for artillery fire correction. Another Telegram group post said that the AFU was becoming active daily, attacking everything they saw, indicating they were not taking any tactical pause and always keeping the Russians on the move. Particularly talking about intensifying UAV attacks, the AFU uses swarms of drones, where a separate operator controls each UAV. Some act as a distraction for our counter-drone guns, while others try to break through and strike.